This is a review of Chuck the Cheetah, written by K.A. Mulenga and illustrated by Tsabitha Yahya. I apologize if I've mispronounced any names. This is a short illustrated story rated as appropriate for ages 1 to 8. We are introduced to Chuck, the fastest of the cheetahs, who wins all of the multitudinous races they hold. 3 of his friends try to talk to Chuck, asking him how he would feel if he ever lost a race, and trying to tell him that others would like him anyway, but he misses the point entirely. Then he finally loses a race, and he's sore about it. So sore that he doesn't show up for the next few days' races, but he does show up before the weekly one, announcing his imminent success. Then he has a dream where he's given the advice to lose gracefully. The next day, he lets someone else win the race. It's a bit of a twist on Aesop's Tortoise and the Hare, and it is noteworthy that, like that story, this tale has no female characters. I have some concerns about the messages this story has for children. One is the perception that when he loses the race, Chuck feels embarrassed, and to a degree, he is shown to be somewhat emasculated. He slinks off and sulks for a few days. He's lost his vigor, his zest. Chuck has a single defining trait, his ability to win. And this is shown very clearly in the fact that the only response he has when each of his friends ask him what he would do if he lost is to repeatedly say that he can't. All he does is win. Another problem for me is when Chuck brags to everyone that he's going to win the next race after that loss to Chip. The narrative then says, all the cheetahs decided they didn't like Chuck anymore because of his conceited nature. I understand that the intention is to provide a lesson on pridefulness. Personally, I would have preferred that this be handled in a less slap-in-the-face manner. I find that messages are internalized better when they involve the reader in thinking more about the subject instead of just spoon-feeding them the moral. And I don't think that Chuck really learned the lesson here, as after his dream he lets Chester win the race. That's my main concern with the messaging, especially with how Chuck winks at Chester, and then everyone loves him again. It's bad enough that Chester is aware that he didn't actually win, even if Chuck didn't say it directly, but Chuck is rewarded for his failure as well, not for being less prideful, but for appearing to be. I know this isn't the intention of the story, but it is what I'm reading from it. And because of that, I feel even less comfortable with the other major lesson that came through when I read this. It's when Chuck conforms to their expectations that he's accepted again. This is a double-edged sword. Yes, we have a desire for everyone to work towards the betterment of the whole. In this instance, I think that lesson could have been better learned if Chuck had been given the advice to help others be better, rather than deciding that losing gracefully, the advice he did receive, meant let them win. If Chuck had said to the group that he wanted to help others be faster, not so that he could feel better about beating them, but so that the herd would be better for it, I think that would have provided better character growth. Having someone intentionally suppress their gifts or talents doesn't help society grow. Teaching them to be better about socialization does. And I fully realize that is the intent of the book. I just don't know that it accomplishes what it sets out to. I think what could come through more strongly as a message from this story is that you shouldn't define yourself entirely off of one trait, as Chuck does. Even with his change of character, he still defines himself by his ability to win every race. Giving Chester the victory did not change the fact that Chuck is the fastest, and it is the only thing we know about him. He has pigeonholed himself so effectively that he has no other defining characteristic. I think the moral of the story would have been stronger if Chuck had that epiphany. Others may disagree, and I do encourage you to form your own opinion. However, I am afraid my rating for this story is only 2 stars out of 5. I don't like to nitpick, but there are also some formatting issues, especially with a lack of using the space bar following punctuation. The ebook is available through Barnes & Noble for $3.99 US. Links to images from Pexels.com are in the description. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.